Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Gen X and Beyond. I'm Gen X Dave, your host. My two co-hosts will be joining us shortly. At least one of them will, that we know of. Only the Only says tonight's podcast is going to be a great one. So while we wait for him, I just want to share what was found 7 hours ago. Press conference with Caroline Levitt, and we're going to go over some of this stuff and just watch the videos. So while I bring that up, just give me a quick second. Alrighty, here we go. I'm going to share this. This was 7 hours ago, press conference, press briefing. And we will.
Moody's visit tomorrow.
I do believe it will come before the quite a few times from this podium.
Tariffs, that's going to come before Prime Minister Moody's visit tomorrow.
I do believe it will come before the Prime Minister's visit tomorrow, and I will let the President discuss the details on the reciprocal tariff front. But this is something he believes strongly in, and it's very simple logic as to why the President wants to impose reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden rule, which we all learned when we were growing up in school. Treat others the way you want to be treated, and far too many nations around this world have been ripping off the United States of America for far too long, and that's why the President believes this will be a great policy that will benefit American workers and improve our national security. JJ.
On Doge and the fraud claims, Elon Musk in the Oval yesterday gave us some information on that. We're just wondering if there's some proof, evidence. Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure. I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to Doge. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what Doge is doing. There is an X account with the Doge handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going out the door. And I would also say that before it was Elon Musk making our government efficient and accountable, it was some unnamed bureaucrat that none of you knew. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's also now one of the most highly scrutinized men in the world alongside President Trump because of what he's doing and the access that he is allowing. So there's great transparency. As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that Doge found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that Doge identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one. $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing. These are the line items across the federal government that Doge is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what Doge is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the
Here is one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Remember what she said earlier in the conversation. Elon Musk and his team is pointing out the wrongs, handing them off to the secretaries that run the department of accepting contracts or voiding them out and stopping the payments. So it's not Elon Musk like everybody thinks, but I digress and we'll continue.
I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to Doge. And I also have a Doge daily report, if anybody would like it, on all of the things that they are identifying and finding. We're happy to provide this information to you. We're talking about it every single day.
Are all those things you just mentioned fraud, or are they waste, or are they just contrary to the president's policies?
I would argue that all of these things are fraudulent, they are wasteful, and they are an abuse of the American taxpayer's dollar. This is not what the government should be spending money on. It's contrary to the president's priorities and agenda. And again, we can continue to provide you the receipts for all of the fraud, waste, and abuse. And if anybody in here wants to argue that the federal government is not fraudulent in some capacity, be my guest, because I think the American people watching at home would beg to differ.
Caroline.
Mary.
Hey, more on the judges. Does the White House believe the courts have the authority to issue these nationwide injunctions?
We believe that the injunctions that have been issued by these judges have no basis in the law and have no grounds. And we will, again, as the president said very clearly yesterday, comply with these orders. But it is the administration's position that we will ultimately be vindicated. And the president's executive actions that he took were completely within the law. They were constitutional. And we look forward to the day where he can continue to implement his agenda. And I would just add, it's our view that this is the continuation of the weaponization of justice that we have seen against President Trump. He fought it for 2 years on the campaign trail. It won't stop him now. Brian.
Yes. I want to go back to Doge just for a second. Earlier, the subcommittee headed by Chairman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her and her staff discovered $2.7 trillion in improper payments to Medicare, Medicaid, overseas, to people who should not have gotten it. Some of this room might have missed that press conference. Can you elaborate on what the president is thinking at this point?
Well, again, that's another example. There's a very long list of the fraud.
What did he say? Did he say 2.7 or 2.3 trillion dollars going overseas in payments? Is that what he just asked?
Run it back 30 seconds.
Let's run that back real quick.
Yes. I want to go back to Doge just for a second. Earlier, the subcommittee headed by Chairman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her and her staff discovered $2.7 trillion in improper payments.
2.7 trillion.
Holy shit.
Right. That's a quarter of the fucking increase to the deficit.
Shit.
I mean, you just call that COVID.
Yeah, improper payments for Medicare expenses across seas. Improper payments. 2.7 trillion.
Right. Remember, Medicare for All would have only cost about $1.2 trillion a year. They've spent twice that over fucking seas. Insane. Doge is doing their job.
2.7 T. That's with a T as in Tom, Taylor.
Right.
Nickel.
Right. Trillion.
Yeah. Trillion.
Right.
Oh my God. But ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Payments to Medicare, Medicaid, overseas, to people who should not have gotten it. Some of this room might have missed that press conference. Can you elaborate on what the president is thinking at this point?
Well, again, that's another example. There's a very long list of the fraud, waste, and abuse that Doge is identifying on a daily basis. Elon Musk also talked about yesterday about Social Security payments that are going out the door for people who are no longer with us, unfortunately. I would say that is certainly fraud. There's also a lot of contracts they've identified that, just as a hypothetical example, are $1 million, but only 500,000 went out the door. So where's the rest of that cash? And so that's the thing. Those are the things that Doge is working on every single day. And I would just remind everybody in this room, this is what President Trump campaigned on doing. He's delivering on a promise that 77 million people elected him to do. James.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Two foreign policy questions, if I may.
Sure.
First, the statement that was released after this morning's phone calls identified Mr. Witkoff as the special envoy who will be part of the delegation that undertakes to resolve the Russia-Ukraine war. I had thought that individual...
Oh,
I see stepping to the podium right now.
that was it, huh? All right.
So that was it. But yeah, so wow, 2.7 trillion.
I was on a high res hosted a co-hosted a X space earlier in regards to the Doji cut budget, the things they found, and
Holy shit!
it's insane.
I'm not so mad about the money to Gaza for condoms as much as I am about that.
Well, shit.
I
I mean, the thing with USAID is nothing is USAID was nothing that it said on the surface. It was CIA front to destabilize shit, destabilize regions. That's what that means. So if they're sending funds to Gaza, where do you think those funds are going? Who do you think's getting those funds? They're definitely not buying condoms.
no,
Where do you think that money's going?
yeah. So
Take a guess. Take a
it's
guess.
going to
Who
weapons.
and
That
for
or
who?
it's going
For
that
who?
that or
For who?
it's revamping half the money back as kickbacks back to the people who are fucking allowing this shit to happen as a way to get more money. How else do you explain in 4 years' time your net worth goes from a few 100,000 to a few 100 million? You know what I'm saying? It's not only just stocks. You got to be getting kickbacks from some of these USAID supposed contracts. You know what I'm saying? Like the money they found
Yeah, but
for Chelsea Clinton.
yeah,
you
I
know.
get that, but specifically the Gaza thing. Who in Gaza received money? Who specifically? What organization do you think
No,
received that money? I already know
don't
the
know
answer.
that.
I'm waiting for you to guess it.
I don't know the answer to that because it sure the hell didn't go to the people.
Yeah, it didn't go to the people in Gaza. It went to Hamas,
Yeah, so
and it was delivered by Netanyahu and the IDF, and they admit that. They don't deny it.
so there's that. But anyway, I have tried to get a hold of our other co-host. I don't know what's going on with him. I called him, he didn't answer. It just rang. So I don't know if he's busy or if he's fallen asleep. But anywho, we could do this without him, and hope he is feeling well. So you, Lonely, had sent a message
What
to
up?
me and said that tonight is going to be a great podcast that you want
Well,
to get on here, and you
well, I didn't know
sounded
we were missing
excited and
one of our trio here.
well, I understand that, but hey, shit happens. If he ends up
Right.
calling and wants to join us later, he can.
I was just
All right.
referring to the plethora of things we have to talk about outside of railing on shit that pisses us off.
Oh, okay, let's go.
But before we get into that, if we could, I mean, that whole idea of railing on things that piss us off. Our last show we had Miggy on, and you railed on people who park in handicap spots, right?
Well,
And
it's
it
not
just,
only
I
that.
don't
it's
want to.
just- Yeah, I get it. Yes.
I want to get into a song that addresses that, and of course, it's little Oliver Anthony music. Yeah, let me see it here. I'll get it queued up. So, what did you do today? How'd your day go?
Well, I went to work, was supposed to do my taxes. That never fucking happened. I fell asleep and woke up and just went ahead and got my paycheck and went and picked up dinner, came home, and that was that.
Okay.
I did get a hold of my tax guy, though. He's currently working on them right now, and I'm just waiting on a call back. So, with that being said, other than that, my day, it was okay. I didn't get to go DoorDash, but tomorrow I will be DoorDashing for quite some time. I got plans on making some money tomorrow night because I'm going to need it.
Yeah. How long are you gonna? Where are you DoorDashing at? Springfield.
Yep.
Cool. You ever get any listeners yet? Like your friends order or anything like that? Or
Like as far as DoorDash,
yeah.
I don't I've never ran into anybody that I knew door dashing.
We had a
I'll just put
friend
it
that
that.
didn't even realize it was us because they'd never been to our house and they didn't look at the name.
Right.
And it's like, then she came over about a month later and she was like, "Oh my God, I delivered you guys DoorDash like last month."
I've never had a
Figured it out.
cross because DoorDash here gives us the first name and the first initial to the last name. It doesn't give us the whole name. And all the houses I deliver to, I have never been to. So I would
Yeah.
recognize a friend's house if I was going to a friend's house. That's for sure.
Uh,
All right. So what are you bringing up about handicap parking song?
No, it's not much about the handicap parking as much as it's about letting strangers pull you down and piss you off. And Oliver Anthony, I can't fucking find it though. That's why I was like trying to stall a minute to like fucking remember
Well,
which
look,
one it
I'm
is
going to
because
tell
he
you
has
this
so
right
many
now.
fucking
I've kept my
songs.
mouth shut about that
But
handicap stuff for many, many years, and I just had enough. You know,
oh yeah,
it was time for me to say something. Miggy, if you ever watch this, if I disrespected you in any way, I'm sorry. I apologize. But you're more than
I
welcome to
don't, I
rejoin
didn't.
our show in any
I
way.
didn't say it like that, intending that. I don't think
I know.
Miggy was only swinging by to say hi and everything.
Right.
And I don't know if he was put off by any of that or not. I wouldn't be. I mean, but that's the thing. I didn't really give him any kind of advance warning on what our show was about or anything. And he's kind of a progressive, marijuana legalization. He's on the progressive side of
I'm
the spectrum, though, when it comes to our political views. So, like, he would have a differing opinion with some things, I believe, especially when it comes to Trump. But I don't think he'd clash with us. I think he'd be a good guest to sit and hash out about marijuana legalization because
That's what I
he's
want to get
all
to. I
fucking
would
about
love
it.
to get into that with him because I do got questions to pick his brain, and I would love to have his attorney on too, so we could pick his brain and all that good stuff.
Tom, yeah, and that's how I found them because they do their podcast together, and they basically sit there and smoke pot and go through different criminal cases and different legislation that's in the different houses. Like they followed PA quite a bit. They followed PA more than other uh, the other shows did. Like what's High Times has a YouTube channel. They followed marijuana legalization more closely than High Times. So uh,
Is High Time still around?
I don't even know. Let me check because yeah.
Because I know I know that they had stopped the magazine.
They still have a website. So yeah, they definitely still have a website. You know what I learned after a tolerance break? That I really loved smoking weed. That's what they got on their main page. I love it.
All right,
let's
well,
come back
they
to this
have their own
song.
YouTube with 282,000 subscribers. It says High Times has been the world's #1 resource for cannabis information, culture, and reports from the war on drugs for over 43 years. So this is their channel. So they're on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to check that out, I just subscribed to them so we could get notifications what stuff they're doing.
Nice.
So there's that. So
a lot of confirmations today, dude. A lot of good
yeah,
things.
yeah, they
Tulsi Gabbard.
confirmed Tulsi Gabbard. Fuck, man. I don't know, bro. I love her. She's awesome.
So I mean, I was on X earlier today, standing up for her in a few posts because the left seems to be railing on her quite a bit and comparing her to Bernie Sanders, but the fact that Bernie Sanders voted against her, so she endorsed Bernie Sanders in this most recent election before anybody. And she got attacked by Dems. She got attacked by Republicans. She got attacked by the mainstream media. They brought the Russian puppet propaganda back up that they had when she was running for president in 2016 was it? So the Putin's puppet propaganda, everything, like they attacked her, and it completely, like, so much so that she didn't even try to run for president. That, you know, and she just threw in behind Trump at that point. And how does Bernie Sanders thank her? He votes against her for getting confirmed into. She got put on the flight list, the Watchful Skies list, after endorsing Bernie Sanders. So, and then Bernie Sanders votes against her to get in, for her to confirm her to be in charge of the intelligence agency that wrongfully put her on a terrorist watch list. A proud serving member of our military who maintains her security clearance throughout the propaganda. Think about that. If there was any shred of truth, do you think she would have the high level top secret security clearance that she still holds? And so to me, that's like kind of treasonous to your followers to like take and vote against somebody who agrees with you on so many things. Like, because so many of the things I've put out there, like legalizing marijuana, Medicare for all, doing something about education cost, Tulsi Gabbard was on all those boats. And she's still on those boats. Bernie Sanders is the one that jumped off those boats. He's the one who doesn't give a fuck about the minimum wage anymore now that he found his place within the cult. He's the one who doesn't give a fuck about Medicare for all and getting everybody Medicare. He's the one who doesn't care about legalizing marijuana, didn't push Biden to do it one single fucking time. But yeah, he's been in charge of the checkbook for 4 fucking years. And he writes every check that they put on his fucking desk to sign. And the railroad strike came around that would have prevented a lot of the train derailments, like the one we saw in East Palestine, Ohio.
And how about the two that happened in Chicago over the last 2 days, today and yesterday? The rail came off, above the street. It didn't fall off the tracks, but it derailed, and they got people off there. And then the one at the train field or somewhere, a whole train just.
Well, I mentioned
derailed.
I mentioned East Palestine specifically.
Yeah, well,
because
you're talking about the.
So, Mr. J.D. Vance has already visited East Palestine to see what's going on there, and I think this is worth a look. By the way, I grew up here.
Hey guys, so I'm here at Leslie Run, and there's dead worms and dead fish all throughout this water. So, something I just discovered is that if you scrape the creek bed, it's like chemical is coming out of the ground. Can you come here? And let me just show this to people. I don't know if you're going to see this on camera, but watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek. This is disgusting.
This is what they're saying is clean.
We have not cleaned up the train crash. The fact that these chemicals are still seeping in the ground is an insult to the people who live in East Palestine. Do not forget these people. We've got to keep applying pressure. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
Trump. That's over here. So, finally, an administration that at least appears to be given a shit to actually fix problems and not create them.
We need to fix them, and we need to fix a lot of shit that's been going on around.
Like, dude, these last 4 years are just surreal, dude. I'm right in the. Okay, so I'm 15 miles away from, or actually 11 miles away from East Palestine. I'm 15 miles away from Butler. I worked in that building in 2007. The Secret Service was in my boss's office. All these things happening right very close to me. It's really surreal these past 4 years,
Well, When it comes to the whole Butler situation, I do know there was some shady shit going on with a lot of law enforcement.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's an investigation that's going to be reopened and rehashed, and transparency made a lot more clear.
right.
A lot of things don't make sense about that. So
Yeah, it's just yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty disappointed in Secret Service.
did you know the reporters that were on site the day of and the day after and the weeks following were under surveillance,
No.
at constant surveillance, to see what they had learned from interviews and to make sure that they only talked to who they were allowed to talk to?
No, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, Alex Jones had one of the reporters on. They threatened him. He was about to retire until Butler happened. And now he's like, I need to dig into this. The FBI literally threatened him and told him like they're going to start investigating him for criminal charges if he doesn't leave it alone and walk away. So, and he was on Alex Jones today talking about that, and he was throwing up diagrams. The spot where the shooter was found, he does not have a clear line of sight for the shot that went through the stands and hit the farm equipment. So there was a big ass, I don't know what that's called. It's like a crane, but it's not. It's an arm. You know what I'm talking about?
It's a boom.
Yeah. Well, there was a boom on a tractor. It was way up in the sky, and the first bullet hit that, and it fell. So as the subsequent bullets were being shot or fired or heard, you could see that falling. So they also have a freeze frame of the bullet that nicked Trump's ear. And they're able to piece all that together and determine that it did not come from where the shooter was at. So we're in a situation that's kind of like the JFK grassy knoll.
It's pretty messed up, man.
But my boss's office did have a clear view of it.
Did actually what?
My boss's office did have a clear view of that angle that would hit the stand and the boom.
Right.
How insane of a shot is that? You know that hydraulic hose is maybe like just a little bit thicker than your thumb, and it's just dangling in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And that bullet sliced it right in half, man. And that boom came down.
So what do you got for us tonight, man? You're holding me in suspense, son.
Oh, I'm talking, Dave. I dropped the song. I was like, it's going to come to me after a couple hits of the bull.
No, I'm talking about you were so excited to get on tonight.
No, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this stuff. And I was like, oh, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Tulsi Gabbard getting confirmed. Kash Patel's right in line. I believe they're voting right now, aren't they?
I'm not for sure.
Like, I haven't seen the news that he's confirmed, but I thought he was getting confirmed today.
Yeah, I thought so too. So give me 1 second. I'm going to grab something to drink.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to throw on a song here. It might not be the song I was talking about earlier, but it might just be it. Who knows? I'm not good with putting the lyrics and the songs together. Like sometimes, I don't know. But this is Oliver Anthony, of course. You guys know, if you've watched even 6 minutes of 3 of our shows, you know that. It was I Want to Go Home, I believe.
Lord, they'd have me strung up in the psych ward, 'cause every day living in this new world is one too many days to me. Son, we're on the brink of the next world war, and I don't think nobody's praying no more, and I ain't saying I know it for sure. I'm just down on my knees begging the Lord, take me home. I wanna go home. I don't know which road to go. It's been so long. I just know I didn't used to wake up feeling this way, cussing myself every damn day. There's always some kind of bill to pay. People just doing what the rich man say.
I wanna go home.
Now 4 generations
Farming the ground.
Grandson sells it to a man out of town, and 2 weeks later, the trees go down. Only got concrete growing around. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I don't know which road to go. It's been
So long. I just know I didn't used to wake up.
feeling this way, cussing myself every damn day. People have really gone and lost their way. They all just do what the TV say.
I wanna go home.
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 If
It weren't for my old dog and the good Lord,
they'd have me strung up in the psych ward.
Good job, Oliver Anthony.
Oliver Anthony, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. He's also a very awesome dude when it comes to like his music is copyrighted, but he allows Creative Commons, so we don't get striked instantly for putting his stuff up here.
And that's another thing. Appealed content cannot be edited content.
What's that mean?
That means if you got a podcast video like we got that's in appeal, cannot edit it while it's going through the appeals process.
Oh, okay. So what'd you end up doing? Just cutting the Michael Jackson song and throwing it up there?
No, I tried, but it said I can't do it because it's in appeal.
Oh, I thought I saw it. I
No.
could have swore it was available.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was. I watched it yesterday. Please welcome our guest Marlon. I watched that shit. It was up. I thought you cut the song and put it back up.
That's because I forgot to change the title to
Oh, okay.
Miggy.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you fixed that afterwards.
Yep.
Ah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't even the song though for all that time and everything. It was a good song. I love that song. I mean, I bought Oliver Anthony's record. He came out with a record, an actual vinyl record. So I had happened to win a record player at an auction for $1. One of the newer ones that like double as a Bluetooth speaker.
Right.
And I was like, I don't have any records. It's been years since I've had any records. So I went on his website and found out, oh shit, he has a vinyl.
I have a whole tote full of vinyls.
Do you have a record player?
No.
Yeah. Do you need a record player? I bought two.
Bring it. You're coming next week anyway, right?
Right. Well, it's the week after Valentine's Day. So would that? I don't know if that's next week.
Day after tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
it
it
might
is
be next
next
week
week.
then. Yeah. He hasn't put it on my schedule yet, but I know that's when he's sending me. So, but yeah, the song I was looking for, he's basically talking about getting pissed off at people on the way home, and then coming home and being in a pissy mood and drinking and shit. But and then he was like, I gotta let it go or something like that later on. It was a good song though, like most of his shit. Yeah, other than that, Cash Patel is going to be right around the corner.
I'm hoping.
RFK is confirmed, so it's like all the I don't know what they kind of called. Did they call themselves the Justice League or the Avengers?
I don't know, bro,
They did a bunch of marketing as like a whole like the Squad does, like the Progressive Squad.
Yep, she is confirmed.
Good.
And nothing about Cash Patel yet. We know RFK was confirmed. We know Tulsi Gabbard was. Nothing on Cash Patel.
Yeah, we'll probably find out by morning though.
Democrats' delay of Cash Patel. That's the last thing that I could find on Cash.
I want to hear another song.
Let's see here.
Looks like Miggy got a show called Hump Day Safety Meeting coming up later on tonight.
Really?
Yep. Dude, I watched that whole episode because it was something else. Like, oh man, watching it, like, wow. 'Cause I was only there for a small skit during when Trump showed up that I played.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, oh man. He threw that link up there, and suddenly there's fucking people trolling on him. And he's like, I don't mind the trolls, fuck it. But yeah, if you go check it out, find it. It's funny. He didn't edit that out. He left that in there. He's like, here, listen to this asshole Ergoff or whatever his name was. But yeah, I put my fillers out trying to find that Trump impersonator because that would be fucking great. That would be to have him on our show.
Fix your mic.
Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you. It just sounds like you're like on a boat. And
how about that?
Wave. Yeah.
How long have I been underwater?
Just a couple of seconds.
Oh. But yeah, I was just saying it'd be great to have that Trump impersonator on the show for
man. I would fucking love it, dude.
We could play it like it's a 60-minute skit.
Yeah. Yes,
dude.
If we could get in touch with that guy, and
he said it wasn't a voice changer, but man, how was he doing it off the cuff that fast and that like. If you're that good, why are you just randomly trolling random podcast live, jumping on live podcast and like, oh yeah. Like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense.
I have no clue. I can't, but I love that. I want that. We need that guy. I would love to have him once a week on the podcast, dude, as Donald Trump. I wish I could find across somebody that is, that dude, that would be fucking awesome, bro.
Dude, I need to figure out how to get unshadow banned on fucking X, man.
You're shadow banned on X?
Yeah, I have been since before Elon took over, and he tried to say they took all those things off and got rid of them, but no, dude, I could be the first person to post on a post that has the author has like literally 2 million views, and every post gets 40,000 likes, right? I could be literally the first one to post a comment, and nobody sees my shit. My interaction level on the analytics is way down. Or the instant I post a comment on somebody's shit, I do have likes and I get follows, and I go look at them, and there's only OnlyFans fucking models trying to like solicit. And
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
get that a
what
lot on
the
ours too.
fuck is wrong with my ex? Like literally, like, and I'll engage in conversations early where there's still a lot of interest, and I'll say things that are in line with the other people on the post, or contradictory, but whatever. Anyways, I'm nobody special. Elon doesn't like me. He has me in the back room, locked away.
Oh,
Till his 3D printer breaks down, and then who do you think he's going to call?
yeah, I know, right?
See, like this, you reposted my post. Let's see, like so far mine has 0 interactions, but yet literally half of the people that are following me, I have almost 100 followers. Over half of them are online, like actively posting things right now. So like my post should be on their For You page or their following page, and it's on neither. I've had them confirm this. Like, it's crazy. And they're like, no, shadow banning went away. Did it really? Did it? But did it?
Yeah, did it?
And I keep finding my shit in the section where you have to click on the show more because the rest are probable spam. And it's like, what the fuck, man?
Oh,
I'm a human being. I'm not a bot.
oh my God.
Old red itching, have a little
Freddie
fun.
D. Herna. And he says, I blocked CNN at my mom's house using parental controls.
Yeah.
Calling me,
Yeah.
saying she can't watch the news. This is how we save America.
Yep. That's right. Going see, my mom called me a couple weeks ago talking about her mom's TV broke. I was like, perfect. Have a good night. Click.
Right.
Because she didn't have a smart TV. We're talking about like one of the first LCDs that you still have to plug in a regular coaxial cable to, or it's just a big fucking wasted space. So, yeah, and she's like, I don't want a smart TV. I'm like, good, then don't go with anything. Like, perfect. The less you know, the more you know.
The less you know, the goddamn better off your brain feels.
Right? Oh, yeah, X was lit up today with everybody getting confirmations. Yeah, Jordan is announcing they would accept refugees. So that's at least something, because
Breaking news.
forced
Congress,
relocation is better than genocide. So that's awesome. Thank you, Trump.
Yep. Breaking news. Congressman Andy Briggs, Republican, leads Arizona 2026 governor race over incumbent Katie Hobbs, Democrat, by 1 point, signifying a GOP flip could happen in Arizona. So there's that.
Arizona. So there's predicting Arizona's going to be red, eh?
It's going to flip back to red, yes.
Oh, is that because they got rid of all the illegals they stacked the town with?
I know. I would say Katie Hobbs pretty much dug her a hole. That's why I always say Carrie Lake should have won.
How about the blind man put in charge of government oversight, or the project of government oversight?
Who would put a blind man in oversight of anything? The whole word oversight means you got to have vision. It says sight in it.
That's not to rag on blind men, but I mean, it's pretty fucked up when you find 100 billion of waste in one spot and over $1 trillion in another spot, and you get up there with your shades and say, I couldn't see any of this.
Well, you weren't supposed
Well,
to
no
see it. You were
shit,
supposed
Sherlock.
to read it in Braille. Okay, how much tax dollars was spent
Right.
converting
Like,
paperwork from regular text, regular
I
writing
mean,
to Braille?
again, I'm not trying to rag on anybody who's blind, but if mass data consumption is part of your job, and this is how, and that's how you read, or a computer has to actually talk to you, you're not going to be able to effectively do that.
Are you stinging on John Fetterman, who's actually a Republican, not a Democrat?
No.
You see how dumb he looks, bro?
He looked dumb before.
No, he even looks worse now. You know what I'm saying? Saying
He's
the
looked
things that
about
he said 4
ridiculous
years
since he
ago.
took. Well, he's looked about ridiculous ever since he came back to work with an Israeli flag wrapped around his back like a cape. Like, you're a representative of America, America first. Your oath is to the Constitution, not to foreign entities. You shouldn't have any flag on your back except for the United States flag.
Yeah, regardless if the other countries were right or wrong.
Right.
You
It
should
doesn't
always
matter. The
support
conflict
America
doesn't
and
matter.
America first.
Yeah. And you don't show your support by throwing on their flag. You show your support by putting your opinion somewhere where people can read it. But then you still vote according to your oath. American people come first. Our interests come first because you're here to protect our rights and interest.
Not the ones that hold visas for school or visas for work or visas just to be over here for whatever the reason they're over here for. You're supposed to the American people, born, raised, bred here, and the ones that are legal citizens that came here legally, those are your number one people you worry about. You do not worry about other countries, other religions, or what the fuck they think. It's
The
America
Constitution
first.
So if you're here legally, you're in the jurisdiction of America, and you will enjoy the rights that American Constitution ensures. But you can't break the rules. So if you're here illegally, you're already breaking the rules. So you're already outside of this jurisdiction, and you're it's a broken record at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see? Let's see here. Let's see here. I want to make sure I get this right before I fucking speak on it. All right.
Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan featured that chick's clip that I threw on here, the one bitching about the Democrats not taking a hint.
Do what now?
I guess Joe Rogan featured that clip that we had put up of that girl from X bitching about the Democrats not knowing how to take a hint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's on my Xbox feed. It's on my X feed.
All right, well, let's get into this. We got some great news for Americans.
Yeah.
Trump has just released an executive order entitled Protecting Second Amendment Rights. This is unquestionably good news for gun owners, but the real question is, how good? The response has been just about what we would expect from the pro-gun and anti-gun factions, with the pro-gun folks being perhaps a bit too exuberant, and the anti-gun crowd screwing up their sour-faced Karen expressions in frustration. The order itself is very dry, bureaucrat, boilerplate government speak without specific details on what gun owners can expect to change in the coming months. That's okay, because all of you have me to help you set realistic expectations, both positive and negative. I am, of course, attorney Andrew Branca for Law of Self-Defense. Hey, folks, I want to take just a
All right.
moment to invite you all to our upcoming live and 100% free Law of Self-Defense Hard to Convict webinar. This free webinar teaches you how to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, or your property. The webinar is live streamed by me personally, and there's plenty of opportunity for Q&A. Best of all, it's 100% free, but we do limit seats to allow for adequate Q&A. So I urge you to grab your seat right now by signing up at lawofselfdefense.com/hard to convict. Members of the Second Amendment community have received Trump's executive order on the Second Amendment with a degree of understandable exuberance. Often we in the gun community feel starved for Second Amendment favorable news, and this executive order is certainly that. But the enthusiasm may also be unrealistic. This YouTube channel, for example, Legally Armed America, ran with the headline, Trump issues executive order restoring the Second Amendment at all levels of government. Now, nobody would be happier than me if that were true, but I'm afraid it's not, because it simply can't be. Trump, even as president, lacks the constitutional authority to do that. By the way, I'm not picking on Legally Armed America in particular. He produces great content. Go check out his channel. Meanwhile, over on X, I'm seeing a lot of posts along these lines. President Trump issues an executive order ensuring no infringement on Americans' rights to protect themselves and their freedoms. Again, nobody would be happier than me if this were true, but it's not. It can't be. Meanwhile, of course, the gun control organizations are aghast that there might be even a slight decrease in infringement on the Second Amendment. Writing on X, here's Everytown for Gun Safety, quote, "He wants open carry, no background checks, no insurance, no instructions. That isn't what the Second Amendment was for." Well, I'm pretty sure all of this is exactly what the Second Amendment is for, not to have any of that. As an aside, I wonder how every town is going to be doing moving forward. Now that USAID has been shut down, is every town going to start bouncing checks now that its secret CIA funding is going away?
Ooh.
Let's hope so. I must say that I did come across one YouTube video on this executive order that really did a pretty good job diving into the micro details of the order. I'll provide a link to that in the description for those who are interested. It's a good channel, does a lot of great gun content. My mission here, however, is to take more of a macro view on what we can expect from Trump's Second Amendment executive order and why. In a nutshell, the order instructs the Department of Justice to take the next 30 days to review all gun-related orders, regulations, policies, and so forth within the executive branch and identify any that improperly infringe on the Second Amendment, and then to present a plan to correct any such infringements. Then the plan will be reviewed with Trump's domestic policy advisor. Really, that's Trump's own review of the DOJ plan and any modifications he might want to make. And then the final version of that plan will be implemented. If our goal is to have reasonable expectations about the scope of Trump's executive order and the resulting plan, then we need to understand that gun law, gun control law, has 3 different legal silos. And importantly, Trump's authority only reaches one of those. The legal silo of greatest authority is, of course, the Second Amendment, which reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." As well as, of course, Supreme Court jurisprudence, further defining the Second Amendment, particularly the most recent Bruen decision. In Bruen, the Supreme Court held that Americans have a presumptive right to keep and bear arms for lawful purposes, particularly self-defense, and that the burden is on the government to prove gun control laws don't unconstitutionally infringe that right. In order to prove this, the government must show some tradition or historically comparable gun control law from the period in which the Second Amendment was ratified, meaning 1791. In other words, if the founders accepted a restriction, then it's okay. Otherwise, the law being proposed is an unconstitutional infringement.
Okay, before we go any further, talking about unconstitutional infringement, a federal judge the other day here in Illinois determined that the FOID card, the gun ownership FOID card, firearms identification card, that we are legally bound in the state of Illinois to have to be able to own a firearm, was deemed unconstitutional. Now,
Okay.
J.B. Pritzker has already appeals in to fight this all the way up to the Illinois Supreme Court. Now, the one thing I want to remind you, Illinois people, I am an Illinoisan too. So the one thing you got to realize is this: most of the Supreme Court, Illinois Supreme Court judges are in J.B. Pritzker's pocket. They are pretty much his cronies. They're mostly Democrats, and I doubt that there's any way, unless the Supreme Court of the United States gets involved, the people, the people versus Illinois, Second Amendment infringement case could possibly see the United States Supreme Court to strike down the FOIA cards. So, I'm not saying and telling anybody out there to cut up your FOIA cards. You don't need them no more. No, that's not what I'm saying. Keep your cards just in case, because things could get pretty ugly when it comes to our Second Amendment rights here in Illinois.
Problem for gun controllers, of course, is there existed virtually no gun control laws from that period. Certainly no permitting requirements, no laws on how guns must be stored, no laws on how long a rifle barrel can be, or how many rounds a firearm can be loaded with. So by the standard of Bruen, virtually every modern era gun control law is unconstitutional. That brings us to the second legal silo of gun control laws, statutes passed by Congress. I'm talking here about the National Firearms Act of 1934, the Gun Control Act of 1968, the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986, the Brady Act when that was in effect, and so forth. Now, in a just world, all those gun control statutes would already have been found unconstitutional and void under Bruen, but we're just not there yet. So those gun control statutes remain on the books and enforced, even as they are being challenged and gradually whittled down by Second Amendment advocates. But it must be said, with far too little assistance from the...
Go ahead.
I somewhat disagree with some of what he's saying about the Constitution. I mean, I do believe you should have access to any kind of weaponry you'd like to purchase. But I do think the government can tell you where you got to keep it. So if you buy a bazooka, a rocket launcher, I don't argue with the government trying to tell you got to keep at your local militia grounds.
Or
because the well-regulated militia is part of the Second Amendment, and that's, if you want to buy a tank, buy it, but
put it on the militia grounds.
Got to stay at the militia. It's your tank. When shit goes to shit, you can go get it in your tank and
do what you got to do at that point in time. I get that, and I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to buy rocket launchers, ground to air, or whatever, RPGs or whatever kind of fucking thing you want to buy, I don't think you should be limited to if you have the money to buy what kind of firearm you want. But what I will agree with is that, if you buy a bazooka or fucking
or anything with mass destruction,
right?
Like fully automatic weapons still would be.
I'm hoping you're part of a militia and you're putting that shit in the militia grounds and locking it up in the militia vault until needed. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know anything about the Minuteman here in Pennsylvania, and I don't even know how safety officers come about, because that's part of the militia too.
Right. So.
But it would be nice, because I'd like to buy I'd like to buy a Black Hawk.
Yeah, I'll buy a Black Hawk and join the local militia and drop that bitch off there. You know what I'm saying? But here we go.
So those gun control statutes remain on the books and enforced, even as they are being challenged and gradually whittled down by Second Amendment advocates. But it must be said, with far too little assistance from the same Supreme Court that wrote Bruen only a couple of years ago. And finally, we have the third legal silo of gun control laws. These are executive branch procedures, practices, regulations, and rulings, which are really just bureaucratic opinions, and often whimsical and poorly reasoned opinions at that. So now we're at the good news, bad news part of understanding Trump's Second Amendment executive order. Let's do the bad news first.
Thank you.
The bad news is that Trump's executive order has no impact on the first two legal silos of gun control laws, meaning Supreme Court jurisprudence and gun control statutes like the NFA and GCA. It means that Trump's executive order cannot, for example, remove the tax stamp requirement for machine guns or suppressors. It means that Trump's executive order cannot eliminate the requirement that a gun be purchased from your state's federal firearms licensee. We're not going back to the days of just being able to buy a shotgun with no paperwork at the local hardware store, like I have personally done in younger years. It means that Trump's executive order cannot do away with the requirement that even when a machine gun can be lawfully purchased, it must have been manufactured before 1986, now almost 40 years ago. That's a hard limit on what our reasonable expectations can be for Trump's Second Amendment executive order. It touches not a hair on any of that. But there's also good news. Trump's executive order can run roughshod over the third legal silo of government procedures, practices, regulations, and agency opinions. And that is huge, because that third silo is wielded on a massive scale by gun control advocates and Second Amendment hostile governmental actors to harass, prosecute, imprison, and sometimes even kill our brothers and sisters in the gun community. Let me give a few examples. Within the second silo, the gun statutes that say you need special paperwork and a tax stamp to possess a machine gun or a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle. And if you don't have that, it's a 10-year felony sentence and a $250,000 fine. Okay, I'd call that an unconstitutional infringement of the Second Amendment.
Goddamn right.
But however I feel about it, I can avoid tripping over that unconstitutional law simply by not possessing a machine gun or a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle, right? Well, I'm afraid not. As old Bill Clinton might say, it all depends on what the meaning of machine gun is. Clearly, a fully assembled and operable firearm designed to fire and capable of firing more than one bullet with a single press of a trigger would constitute what any reasonable person would call a machine gun. But what if there's a single part within that firearm that makes this capability possible? Let's call that part an auto sear. And without that part, only a single round fires with each press of the trigger. Now you no longer have a machine gun. But I'm afraid you do. Because even if the firearm itself is no longer technically a machine gun, that auto sear you're holding in your hand that you just took out of that weapon, that single inert metal part, the ATF calls that a machine gun. Possession of that inert metal part without the required paperwork and tax stamp is good for 10 years in prison. Much the same is true for a suppressor. Certainly, a fully assembled and operable suppressor that reduces the audio signature of a fired shot would fall within the scope of the NFA, as unconstitutional as the NFA is. Well, some suppressors work by having rubber washers in them as replaceable parts. Guess what? If you possess one of those rubber washers, even without the other components necessary to assemble a functional suppressor, the ATF says you are in possession of a suppressor. Again, good for 10 years if you don't have the paperwork and tax stamp. Again, the same with short-barreled rifles. It's possible to have a firearm that visually resembles a short-barreled rifle, but technically qualifies as a pistol. The pistol needs no special paperwork and no tax stamp. But then if you add a small vertical brace onto the underside of the barrel, your legal pistol has suddenly become an illegal short-barreled rifle, again good for 10 years in prison. And you can add in your own examples for arm braces, for 80% firearms, for destructive devices, all of that. All of these examples are serious felony crimes, not based on any constitutional law, not on any Supreme Court jurisprudence, not really on any gun control statute. They're based entirely on these very broad definitions promulgated by the ATF. And the ATF is entirely within the purview of Trump's authority as president, as head of the Article 2 executive branch of the government, and therefore of his executive orders. So one reasonable expectation for this latest executive order Trump signed is that all those definitions could just change, making those serious felonies just go away. Possession of an autoseer or a suppressor baffle or an installed vertical grip on an otherwise lawful pistol would no longer be defined as felonies. The same for arm braces, 80% firearms, and so forth. To generalize this, where the ATF has discretion, it will be ordered to apply that discretion in a manner favorable to the firearms owner, rather than to prosecution, as has been the case for essentially all.
So what he's trying to say, if I'm getting this right, Lonely, that if it attacks the third silo, it trickles down to the second silo and stops the ATF from pressing charges or sitting somebody 10 years in jail for an arm brace and
Right.
other stuff like that. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that correct?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay, so just wanted to make sure that I understood that properly. Here we go.
Of the ATF's existence. This discretion would also apply to the Department of Justice generally, where we will reduce or stop defending.
What?
We should. This
What?
is funny. Guess who just started their live stream?
Who?
Miggy.
Miggy?
Yeah.
Bro, we'll stop this and we should share his. Yeah, let's share his, dude. Yes. Send him a message and tell him we're gonna show him.
I'm gonna ask him. Yeah, I'm gonna ask him real quick if he minds if we share.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind just going ahead calling it on our show and then joining him if he wants us to join him.
Yeah. Well, everybody's randomly joining right now, so he's inviting people just to crash his party, dude.
Really?
Yeah. Do we want to? Well, that's what sucks is because there should be a way we could take it and go there as a studio, like move our studio in.
Oh yeah, invade like Napoleon, baby.
Right? Do you want to just pop in there? You want me to throw up the chat, his link in the private chat, and end the stream, and we'll ask him if he knows how to move our studio to his studio?
Dude,
I bet he does. He's been doing these podcasts for a minute, man.
If you want to just jump in there, we could just jump in there. I mean, ask him if we could join him. I'll join him.
Well,
on his podcast.
that's what I said. He doesn't mind. Like he's literally putting a call out to anybody watching to join his shit.
Oh well, then let's end our show real quick, and then we'll go over there. How's that?
Yeah. All right, guys.
Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our show. Like always, I'm Gen X Dave. That's only the lonely. Mocha 420 couldn't join us.
Miss
tonight.
you, Moken.
And thank you for joining us on Gen X and Beyond. We will see you next time.